Lads and ladies, welcome back. Thanks for stopping by. So today we are making a video that I had no intention of making. As a matter of fact, I've kind of been debating back and forth with myself since like yesterday about whether or not I was even going to make a video about this. You know, I wondered, is it really any of my business? Do I have any place to say anything about this at all? Of course, let me tell you what we're going to be talking about. As you may or may not already be aware, a very big and influential name in the Call of Duty / online gaming / streaming community has recently decided to start making gambling content. Of course, the person that I'm talking about is Nadeshot. He has recently signed a deal with an online gambling company, and I think he's currently in Mexico right now streaming himself gambling to his many viewers. And I think I have a responsibility to say something about it, to give a different perspective, because if one person who follows Nadeshot sees my video or any of the other creators' videos who's called him out about this and is convinced to maybe not participate in online gambling simply because they saw enough people talk about just how incredibly stupid and destructive it is, then it's absolutely worth it. All right, so at this point, I think there's probably a pretty good chance that you've already seen this video that's been going around. It's about a 2.5-minute video. It's a video of Nadeshot, of course. I think he's in Mexico, and in the video, he's basically just talking about where he is, what he's doing, and sort of how he got there, what decisions and circumstances have led up to this point. And like I said, even though I think there's a pretty good chance you've already seen the video, I do want to play it again here, and I want to comment on the video in a couple of specific places. And the reason I want to do this is because I think we can use this video to help us point out and identify some of the very deceptive and destructive character traits that come along with something like a gambling addiction, because that's what we're talking about here. At the end of the day, we're talking about an addiction, and addiction just sort of in general as a whole, whether it be an addiction to alcohol, drugs, or like in this case, gambling. Addiction carries with it some common character traits, some specific behaviors, some very destructive and deceptive character traits and behaviors that you can use to help identify whether or not a person might be gone down a path that's eventually going to lead them to a very dark place. So without further ado, let's take a look at the video and talk a little bit about it.
Just know those cases were very expensive. And at a certain point, we were making money from the cases, man. I'm just going to be honest with you. But very quickly, it turned into not making money.
All right, so this is the first thing that I just wanted to point out. Right now, I'm sure you're aware he's talking about CSGO cases, CSGO skins. And there are like websites where you can go and you can buy and trade these things. Look, let me just tell you, in case you were wondering, yes, that is absolutely 100% gambling. And as you can see here, this is a guy, we're talking about a guy who has significantly more expendable funds than either you or I do. And you see here, he's already admitting that very quickly that turned into a situation where it was costing him money. And if it's enough money for him to feel like it's worth mentioning, then you can be darn sure that it's enough money that either you or I would probably be carrying some serious regret for participating in that. So that's the first thing I just wanted to point out, is that this thing all started with CSGO skins, and that's the slippery slope of addiction. And even after the pain of losing money, you can see, we're going to see in just a second, that he still is unable to stop himself and progresses from there.
When the fine folks at Rubet saw how much of a degenerate gambler I was, they were like, we got to get your ass on here immediately. And I said, bro, I need to get on there immediately just as much. And so we had the birds and the bees conversation. We consummated our love, and now I'm here live on Kick. I'm in Mexico, and we're going to be gambling together like.
All right, so I wanted to say something about this here too, because he's going to go on and he's going to talk about this consummation of love, this partnership, as he calls it, between him and Rubet. Let me tell you something. This is not a partnership. This is a predator-prey situation. This is a predator-prey relationship. They are the predator and he is the prey. Okay? He's a big name. He has a lot of exposure. And you can be sure that those companies like Rubet, they have teams of people whose job it is to identify people like him, people who are vulnerable, and to jump on those people in their moment of vulnerability. And that's exactly what happened here. And he's going to talk a little bit about that partnership. I have some things I want to say about that too, but I just wanted to point that out. This is by no means a relationship of love. This is a predator-prey relationship, and he is the prey.
Gambling. So I just want to say thank you to everybody at Kick, everybody at Rubet for allowing me the opportunity to be here. You know, I'm thanking these guys like it's AT&T and it's a sponsored stream, but on God, like, this is the biggest partnership that I've had in my entire career. And I know it is centered around gambling, and I'm not going to shy away from telling you guys. And I already talked to.
So, like I just said, he's calling this a partnership, and he's admitting that this is the biggest partnership of his career. Again, this isn't a partnership. This right here, this is like the lamb thanking the lion for eating it. That's what's happening here. This is a lamb thanking the lion. That's what you're seeing. And he talks about this being the biggest partnership of his career. Why do you think a company like Rubet is willing to offer someone more money than they have ever been offered before to do the thing that they have built their career doing? He's never even been offered the amount of money that he's been offered to do this new thing that he's never done, to do the thing that he is best at. Why do you think a company like Rubet would be willing to do that? Because they know that money's coming back to them. Because they have already identified what is going on here, and they have identified him as a person with a weakness and a developing addiction and a developing problem, and they know exactly where it's going to lead. This is an investment for them, and an investment in all of the worst ways.
Rubet guys about speaking as transparently as possible about all the things that I feel and all the things that I know. Guys, at the end of the day, whether you go to Vegas, whether you're online gambling, if you gamble long enough, you will lose. You're going to have moments where you could win and come up, but gambling can be very, very dangerous. And that's why I'm using their.
All right, so I want to just say, you know, I'm glad to see that he's acknowledging how dangerous gambling could be, but this kind of like soft, backhanded, half-committed acknowledgement that, oh, what I'm doing is dangerous and you're going to lose, but I'm going to go ahead and do it anyway, and I'm going to do it big. Bro, that doesn't cut it. That doesn't mean anything. You lead by example, not through your words. It doesn't matter what you say. It matters what you do. People are going to be watching what you're going to be doing for the next however long you're going to be doing it. And this little half-hearted disclaimer, I mean, it just doesn't mean anything. And I want to back up just a smidge here, because this next part is really one of the things that I wanted to point out and one of the things that I wanted to talk about. So just like a second or so, I think I want to back it up.
Gambling can be very, very dangerous. And that's why I'm using their money to gamble myself. No, in all actual, it's raw balance. They're paying me a fee, and I can do with that fee whatever I want, as long as I gamble a certain amount of hours on Kick every single month. So at the end of the day, this is skin in the game. Like, I'm not sitting here gambling with fake money, and if I win, I don't keep it, and if I lose, it doesn't matter. This is money that they have paid to me that I'm using on my own free will, and if we lose, we lose.
All right, so this is one of the things that I wanted to point out. What you just saw there, all of this sort of like double speak and talking in circles. Is it his money? Is he gambling with their money? Like, regardless of what the reality is, what the terms of the agreement are. What you're seeing here is a person who is not only not being honest and straightforward with his community by kind of talking back and forth about, well, what money is he using? Where's it coming from? It's a person who's not being straightforward and honest with his community, but is also not being straightforward and honest with himself. He's already justifying what he knows he's about to do, and that's what you're witnessing here. It's this double speak, and this is one of the things that I really wanted to point out.
And that's a fucking problem, because then I just spent 5 days in Mexico while my wife is about to deliver a baby any day now.
This is another thing that I wanted to point out. Like, and like, I really need to say this is not to pick on Nadeshot, because I've always been a fan of Nadeshot. I still am a fan of Nadeshot. He's like always been a positive dude. He's a father, and that's the really big thing that this jumped out to me when I first saw this, because my wife right now is currently pregnant with my first son. He's due in a couple of months. And as someone who is about to be a father, to hear him admit that he is in Mexico gambling while his wife is literally on the precipice of having a baby. So I might be reading this wrong, okay? But the way that I am interpreting this is that he's in Mexico gambling, and there is a strong possibility that his wife is going to have this baby while he's in Mexico gambling. Let me tell you something, okay? If that is the case, I mean, what we are witnessing here is the powerlessness of addiction. Okay, that's what you're seeing here. Because I can tell you, as someone who is waiting on my first son to arrive, if my wife was a few days away from delivering, she's a couple months now, but if she was a few days away from delivering as I record this, you would not be able to pull me away from her side at gunpoint. I kid you not, my friend, you would not be able to do it at gunpoint. But addiction is powerful.
And I just want you guys to know, like, this is entertainment. This is for content. This is for everybody who enjoyed watching me cases to enjoy me being in this setting as much as possible. But at the end of the day, it is just entertainment. But I'm paying the price for that entertainment because I could lose the house. It could happen.
And that's where I've stopped the video. This is the clip that I wanted to comment on. And the very last thing that I wanted to comment on is that statement that he just made right there, where he says, I could lose the house. It could happen. And he says that half jokingly, but this is an acknowledgement of a very real reality. Okay. And that's the thing about addiction. You know, people often say that an addiction will take everything from you, but it isn't quite like that. An addiction won't take everything away from you. An addiction will put you into a place where you are willing to give everything away for that addiction. That is how dangerous and destructive and powerful it is. And that statement that he just made right there about the house is, even though it's kind of made in an almost joking way, for me, is that, and the statement about his wife being about to give birth. I mean, that is just kind of the most foreboding part of this short little video for me. All right, so that's the end of the video. Like I said, I just wanted to go through that, and I wanted to kind of pick out some of those behaviors that I saw so that we could see in real time those behaviors manifesting in a person who, you know, I think just through even not knowing this person personally, just through following this person online for so long, we all know is a person who is a good, honest, caring, productive, just a good person. And being able to see these behaviors, how quickly they can take hold and manifest in anybody. It doesn't matter who you are, where you come from, what your background, nobody is protected from this. And this is incredibly dangerous path to go down. So that's really what I wanted to say. I don't want to drag this video out, but I do want to give, I guess, just, I don't know, some final thoughts, disclaimer, before I let you go. So, listen, I am not a spring chicken, okay? I have been kicking around this ball of dirt that we call Earth for quite a few years now, and I have battled my fair share of demons. And that's the reason why I'm kind of, I guess, being so passionate about this subject, because I've been there and I have done that. I have struggled with my own demons, my own addictions, and I know firsthand just what these things can do to you. And like I just said, the best way that I know how to describe it is that an addiction like this, a gambling addiction, or whether it's drugs, alcohol, whatever, but an addiction like this, it won't take everything away from you. It will convince you to give it away. And you will end up with nothing until eventually it might even take your life. So, Nadeshot, bro, this ain't it, my man. You have young, impressionable people watching you. And if you think for a second that they aren't going to want to do the same things that you do, then you are sadly mistaken. And this type of thing could potentially lead people down a path that some people might not be able to come back from. So, this ain't it, my dude. Knock it off.